Now, if you want to improve your skin with real food, then eating whole foods a few times a week is not enough if the rest of your diet is still processed. Real food has to become your normal way of eating, and processed food becomes the exception. And to make that work, you need to first change the whole setup of your meals. You need to get used to eating foods without sauces, marinades, dressings, added salt, and all these extras that keep changing the food. And the easiest way to do that is not by starting with complicated healthy meals. You start with very simple foods that already taste good on their own. For example, tubers like sweet potatoes, taro, or even squash. These foods are satisfying, filling, and they already have taste. A sweet potato is literally sweet. So when you cook a sweet potato and eat it with something simple like chicken thighs, eggs, fish, squid, or whatever whole food protein you have, the meal already works. You do not need to cover everything in sauce. You do not need to add a marinade. You do not need to make it look like an Instagram bowl. You can just cook the food and eat it. For example, you can have boiled, steamed, grilled, or baked chicken thighs with a sweet potato and a few tomatoes on the side. And because the sweet potato is sweet and filling and the tomatoes add some freshness, the meal tastes good by itself. That is the whole point. The food does not need to be constantly manipulated. And this is what needs to become your baseline, otherwise it will not work. Your meals can be built around a simple protein, a tuber or squash, and some fruit. That is already enough. Then if you want something sweet in between, you can have fruit, like a banana, a guava, a bit of pomelo, or whatever works for you. That becomes the sweet snack instead of always reaching for something processed. So the goal is not to eat one real food meal and then go back to processed food for the rest of the day. The goal is to make real food your normal setup. You start with one meal and get used to it. Once that meal feels normal, you move on to the next one. And then the next one. And after a while, most of your diet is built around foods you can actually recognize. This is when things actually start to change. Because now your body is not constantly dealing with hidden salt, sauces, additives, flavorings, dressings, processed oils, and snacks all day. Your food becomes simple. And when your food is simple, you can actually see much more clearly what your skin is doing. Then later, if you want to eat something processed that you enjoyed before, you can try it again. But it should be the exception, not your normal way of eating. That is the difference. Because if most of your food is still processed and you only eat whole foods here and there, then you're not really changing the environment your skin is living in. You're just adding a few whole foods into the same processed setup. So turn it around. Make real whole food your normal food. Let processed food become the exception. Stick with it long enough for your body to actually experience that change. And then watch what happens to your skin. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!